for stopping by Trauma and True Crime. My goal with this platform is to help end, or at least significantly curb, the accelerating pace of transgenerational trauma. I do this because I have my own trauma that I'm recovering from, and I know that practically everyone, especially watching true crime, is also recovering from their own trauma. A big part of treatment and recovery for anyone with trauma is to find ways to soothe their bodies, because our bodies are constantly in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. So one of the ways I do that is by singing, which I post on my other channel. But not too long ago, a subscriber sent me an email and asked if I would do a custom ASMR. And at first, I didn't know what he was talking about. But when I looked into it, I saw that it could not only be a wonderful tool for me, for my recovery, but it could also be a wonderful tool for anyone else's recovery. So I'm going to attempt my hand at this true crime ASMR video. It'll be a little bit of a different format from my usual true crime videos. These ASMR videos are meant to be soothing and a lot of times to help people sleep. And I listen to true crime a lot when I'm going to sleep. So I know that it could be something that's of interest to other people, and I'm going to tell this true crime story in the hopes that you'll learn something about transgenerational trauma, how it plays out in true crime, and also maybe get a little bit of healing from it. Today I'm going to talk about the Todt family murders. That's T-O-D-T. But I'm going to take a little bit of a historical approach to it, because it is very important for the discussion of transgenerational trauma. We'll start out with the basic facts of the case. On January 13th, 2020, as they were going in to execute a search warrant into the Todt family home as a result of fraud that had been committed by Tony or Anthony Todt, the feds gained entry into their Celebration, Florida home that they were renting. When they entered the house, they found Tony Todt very disoriented, tired, and sketchy. He could barely stand. He told them that he and his family had gone on a vacation and just came back, or some such. But when the investigators went through the house to clear it to make sure that there was no danger for them, they went to the master bedroom and found 4 obviously deceased bodies. 1 woman, 3 children. They also found a small family dog deceased in the room. This took the investigation into Tony's fraud to a whole new level, obviously. Now, those are the key facts of the case. I will tell you a little bit more about the background and what led up to that day of the discovery. But before I do that, I'd like to tell you about his father. This is the father that he has written to from prison and told that it wasn't him who committed the murders. It was his wife who was dead. a special education teacher and wrestling coach in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, was married to Loretta Todt. However, he was also dating a 17-year-old girl and was getting ready to marry another woman in another town. She was a nurse. He and Loretta had two very small children, Tony, 4 years old, and a sister who was younger. Apparently, leading so many lives, separate lives, and trying to keep everything straight was putting a lot of pressure on Robert Todt. So one day, he approached a 17-year-old former student of his. His name is John. He approached this young man who had significant learning disabilities and convinced him to go to his home on a night that he was not there, enter the home with the key, and use the gun that he gave him to kill the woman in the bed. So, on that night, on March 19th, 1980, at night, Robert was not home. Everybody in the home was asleep, and John used the key that was given to him by Robert to go into the home. Unfortunately, John also had addiction issues, and he was drunk when he went into the home. And as he was walking down the hall toward Loretta's room, he bumped a table. This woke Loretta up, and she shot up straight in bed. And John shot the gun, hitting her only in the eye. She survived the attack. When he saw that he had shot her, he turned and ran out the door and vomited on the front lawn. This led to a lengthy court battle where Robert maintained his innocence and that it was a simple break-in. Loretta, who was sitting in the courtroom without an eye and with a bullet lodged in her brain, vehemently fought for Robert's innocence. So did Robert's mother. However, he was convicted. He was found guilty, and he served 10 years in prison. Robert, Tony Todt's dad, still maintains his innocence to this day, but Loretta later moved to Connecticut, got married, and was able to see that it was really her husband who was involved in the entire thing. Now, on this day in March of 1980, Anthony Todt was 4 years old, and during the scuffle, the gunshot woke him up, and he exited his room. So he served as a witness to his father's trial, and his testimony was that there were two robbers coming into the home. However, he was only 4 years old at the time, so it was probably very easy for him to be influenced into saying something that he didn't really see. Now imagine growing up with the kind of trauma that Anthony Todt grew up with. It does not excuse his actions in the least, but you can see how something like this would have played a major role in what he would later do. So fast forward to 2019. Anthony and his wife Megan have 3 children. Alex, who's 13, Tyler, who's 11, and Zoe, who is 4 years old. He is also living a double life because he has been holding 2 offices in Connecticut of a physical therapy practice called family physical therapy. And while he's running this office, he is actively defrauding Medicaid and other insurance companies by overbilling them for the services rendered or not. This was catching up to him. He was also deeply, deeply in debt in his business with credit card companies. In the meantime, he had purchased a home in Celebration, Florida, which is just adjacent to the Disney World property. Disney built this housing development themselves, but later sold it. Somehow, Anthony Todt's home in Celebration had a lien put on it, so he had his family move into a rental property in Celebration, Florida. In late 2019, seeing the writing on the wall and that he was about to get hauled off for committing fraud, Tony abruptly closed one of his offices in Connecticut, leaving the patients hanging without any services, and fled to Celebration, Florida, where his family was. However, what he arrived to was a pending eviction. He had missed the rent for the last 1 or 2 months on the rental property, so the landlord filed for an eviction on December 22nd, and the eviction was served the day after Christmas on December 26, 2019. In the meantime, this home was being surveilled by federal authorities who were getting ready to serve a warrant for Anthony's arrest. However, after a certain day, after December 26th, no one heard. The family and friends had been getting worried about the Todt family. They knew that they were supposed to go on vacation, but they were supposed to be back by then, and they had not been able to reach anyone. A welfare check was conducted at the home on December 29th, 2019, but the officer who went to do the wellness check only knocked on the door and did not gain entry into the home. It is believed that everyone was in the home at that time and that Tony's family was deceased. It was another 2 weeks, January 13th, 2020, when the feds finally went in and executed their search warrant on Anthony Todt and found the gruesome discovery. Now it appears that the family had been drugged and also stabbed multiple times, but not every family member. They saw toxic amounts of Benadryl in the family system, and they found stab wounds on Megan, his wife, and 2 of the children. Zoe, the youngest, did not have any stab wounds. When police came to execute their search warrant, and they noticed that Tony was off kilter and groggy, he told them that he had overdosed on Benadryl. They brought him into the station and began asking him questions, and they believed that he confessed to the murders. However, Tony, who is still in prison to this day, awaiting trial, changed his story and said that he did not give a confession, especially because he was not read his full Miranda rights. A judge has agreed to remove the confession as a part of the evidence. So in letters to his father, the one who tried to have his mother murdered. In letters to his father, he claims that it was his wife, Megan, who poisoned everyone and then stabbed herself in the stomach. So that is going to be the defense that Anthony apparently is going to take when his trial starts on January 24th, 2022. I want to wrap this up by making some observations. Obviously, there is an element of passing down of the same experience and the same feelings and behaviors from generation to generation. Obviously, Anthony never got any help for the trauma that he experienced in seeing someone attempt to kill his mother and for his father to be blamed for it. I also find it interesting that in both cases, the men are trying to claim that it was somebody else and that because they weren't there when it happened, it couldn't have been them. Anthony Todt is trying to claim that he was not in town when his wife did the slayings. It's a very improbable and seems to me wacky defense, but we shall see what happens. It also reminds me a little bit of the Chris Watts case, where Chris Watts initially confessed, and when he did, he blamed his family, but has since changed his confession many times. But in both cases, they are family annihilators. Thank you for stopping by again. I appreciate you listening. Please hit one of those thumbs and subscribe, and please let me know if you would like to hear more ASMR true crime on my channel.